Hi! I had this idea to create a few review videos about my old projects from my archives at time before I started recording videos here on YouTube. So the first file I'm going to open today is the submarine scene, which you saw just little ago as a finished picture here. Okay, let's see what we got here. The file is this one. Let's open it. The scene in viewport looks like this. Let's start cutting it apart to see what we have here. I think we should start with these light beams. The lights are made with an emission shader. That shader I used as a volume for the light beam objects. By doing that way it renders a lot faster than the alternative way to create huge volume domain around this whole scene. Also, I could have controlled it a lot better when they are separate objects like this. Let's render a little test here to see how this shader looks like in cycles. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now I'm going to hide these light beams, so we can continue to look other objects. And this reveals that under of those volume lights we actually had a real lights also. So the volume lights were here just to show, and these lights are here to do the lighting job. So if we now render this again without the volume lights, you see this in action. This is how it works. And then we have here the submarine itself. Modeling it was a little challenge for me. I can still remember how I was scratching my head because of all the details I needed to do for it. And I wanted to have somehow realistic submarine from this, so I needed to focus very much on what I was doing, and I also needed huge amount of reference images. But the submarine itself is never seen this close in the finished picture, so I also didn't need to do too much of work, just enough to make me feel little uncomfortable while modeling. So I think I could make the object to that point where I can say that it works in this particular scene. Maybe in some other scene it might look little different and even ugly, but it works in this scene, so that was my goal and I think I achieved it. For me it's very typical that I don't very much do texture work for my scenes. I think that's a little bad habit, but what can you do? I think I should learn to do more texture work. It would be next step for me to get my scenes into the next level. All these materials are in Finnish, by the way. Sorry for it. I didn't ever had an idea that I would do this kind of video of this scene. As you can see, there is not much textures around. Okay, we have this one here, but no, I can't even remember what it's going to do here. But it's very typical for me to have this kind of material without any textures around. And then we have here these tanks. The ideology of these tanks is that other tanks are filled with oxygen and the other tanks are filled with water. With water tanks the submarine can control easily how fast it's going to sink or float. Basically how much the boat weighs. And then we have here this glass material. With glass I used this kind of little trick. It was not the typical only glass shader solution. Instead of that I had a transparency shader and glossy shaders together. and I control the transparency with Fresnel node. That kind of glass material is used to be said as an architecture glass. You can render that kind of glass a little faster than, and with less noise than the standard glass material. That was my reason to do it like that. Also, I wanted to be able to control better how the glass is transparent and how not. As you can see, the glass is transparent when we watch it straight forward, but when the glass is in some angle, it starts slowly becoming glossy. Okay, then we have here these bubbles. I don't know who is interested of them, but there are also this kind of particle system. And the particle system is located in here. And here we have some settings I was using for these particles. You might have already noticed that there is huge amount of light sources in this scene. The submarine does not make any difference. I needed to have few different lights to highlight some parts of the submarine. I have parented the light sources to the submarine, so if I move the submarine, the lights will follow also. And then we have here the main light source, the sun lamp. There is nothing special in it, but let's still do one test with it. If I hide it, what will happen? As you can see, so much of details just disappears like nothing. So the sun lamp is very important. Okay, then let's get one lamp here. This is one area lamp that is lighting this tied skeleton here. And now, when I'm going to hide this lamp, you see what's going to happen. Like this. There is a reason why this lamp exists here. It's very subtle, but it gives an effect to the skeleton. One strange thing in this scene is that when I started doing it, I thought that it will be a low poly scene. Then, as you can see, there in this ship is almost no details. It's very simple object. Then I started adding the particle systems for the corals, and the scene suddenly became high poly. So I just gave up with the low poly ideology and created with this submarine and added few skeletons there and there. These skeletons, by the way, are done years ago by me, maybe about 6 years ago. I was still practicing to use Blender. Now I finally found some use for them. Cool. Okay, now you maybe wanna see the corals. They are all here. And they are very low poly. And so there is not much of details. But because there is thousands of those in the scene, it starts to look that they are actually very detailed. Also, some of those have used to have a tricks to make each of them to be little different color. Other than that, the materials are very simple, except that red one, which have that kind of texture thing here. You will see closer what it does soon. Here. I think it's very organic looking thing. Okay, what do you have here? Diffuse, glossy. Okay, let's move on. Okay, this one is one of those which changes its color. Now, every object with this material is colored little different based on that ramp node you see there. If I duplicate this like now, you might notice how the new yarn is different colored. And then we have here this star thing, and it's again one of those diffuse and glossy things. Okay, this one is also using that same random node, but now it only generates different greens, as you can see when I duplicate this. And here we have this pink thing, which is always pink, and I have no idea what these plants are, but because I have some pictures of this, so I just created what I saw in images. And these, I don't know what these are. I can delete them because they might be something very important, or then not, I don't know. And this is the bubble, and the bubble material is very much similar with the glass material in the submarine. I'm not very much sure how much there is difference between those, but they're done in a similar way. And the fish is not very complicated object. It's very simple, but because it's background object, I didn't wanna make it very detailed because that would add too much render time again. And this is the particle system for the fishes. Those are Boyd's particles. And Boyd's means that every one of those particles are their own entity. Am I using correct word? They have their own mind, and they are swarming like that. Just Google Boyd particles and you will find some very nice stuff what you can do with this. And here we are in the submarine layer again, and I have noticed that in science fiction it's very cool that there's this kind of little lamps around the model. There is no any logical reason why those lamps are there, but expect those look very cool because they, I don't know, light just looks cool. So add some random lamps in your object and it becomes science fiction. There is actually in the bottom also some lamps and for the wires, and there is no any sense why would anyone add lamps to the wires, but because it looks cool, so why not? And here we have this ship with all of its glory. As you can see, the other part of it is very dark, but this one is very much colored. And here we have actually this octopus also. It's very fun detail, but it's not visible in the final render because the place where it is very dark. But I had an idea that I will someday use that octopus in some other scene, but it might take some time. Or maybe I will do another octopus. Who knows? I will add some lamp so you can see it better how it looks like. There's actually this is I mean that chest is the only object in here with use image textures. As you can see, there is coins inside of that chest. Also here we have a wood texture. Like that. But the octopus is completely procedural. I'm actually not sure if I changed the octopus material for this scene. Let's see, because the original octopus, I think it looks a little different. It's this one, and this is the scene where I created it. I actually even made that ground material for it. But yeah, it looks very much different. Okay, the material is still the same. Here you can see that the lighting will change everything. And maybe you wanna see also the floor, how it's made, so I will show it to you. Here. If you understand these nodes, you will maybe get some idea what's going on there. I'm mixing two Voronoi textures together, and when they are mixed like that, they will create those cracks. Okay, let's change some settings and you will see how it affects. Yeah. With this you can do all kind of different effects and make the cracks a little bit larger or smaller. Okay, maybe it's time to go to Photoshop to see this scene, how the post-processing is made. And here in Photoshop I have done so much of different things here. As you can see, I'm fastly removing some effects so you can see what every layer does to this. Okay, this was the coloring. And I have made that with camera raw filter. Okay. And then the vignette. It's very simple layer. And another adjustment layer. Let's zoom a little closer. So this was making those little bubbles or whatever those are. Just we need something in the air or in water to make it look like it's water, because water is not very clean. Natural water, I mean. And I wanted to make those little darker, those things. Plant. And those are also made in Photoshop. Maybe I downloaded a picture somewhere and added, yeah, blurred them and so on. It makes it much better when there is something in the foreground. And okay. And I made for every one of those light sources this kind of little highlight thing, so the light looks little more powerful. And also there's little highlights. And there was this little, I don't know what is it, but some random artifact which I wanted to remove. So this layer just for this. And another color adjustment thing. I made this using the mist pass. So I selected with it the background, I mean. Yes, more contrast. And the fishes, look at them especially. Another clothing for the submarine. And color changes. And as you can see, the guy there in submarine is also made in Photoshop. I didn't model him. Here he goes. Goodbye. I think he looks a little bit of that Daniel in Stargate, if you know that series. The science guy. I found the picture from Pixabay. And those light rays are also done here. Maybe those can be done in Blender, but I wanted to make them in Photoshop because for me it's easier. I have very strong photography background, so Photoshop is very much the tool I use in everything. And another layer which changes some colors and a little bit more highlight for the area I wanted to have more highlight. Okay, this is the blurry layer. I was blurring the foreground a little bit, and also I was blurring the background, as you can see in the next layer. But the bubbles were the problem, so I needed to mask them out. Okay, this is the background blurry thing. And this background was blurring the bubbles. Okay, this is the original render that came out from Blender. Hope you like this walkthrough. Now I will add all the layers back on so you can see the finished image again. Here we have it. This might have been very small video, and there definitely are some parts which I didn't tell or told very much badly, but I hope if you learned even little bit of using Blender or Photoshop, I think the goal of this video is made.